A poor, simple student married a 71-year-old millionaire woman. 7 days later, he was shocked by what he discovered. A storm hung over the sleepy town of Fairview, Michigan, casting a slate-gray hue over its quiet streets. Nathan Cole adjusted his hood against the wind, his shoes soaked from the icy puddles beneath him. At 24, he was drowning, crushed beneath the weight of law school, night shifts at a gas station, and hospital bills left behind by a dying parent. His future was disappearing faster than the autumn leaves around him. That's when his phone rang. "Hello?" he answered, breathless. "Nathan Cole," a composed, smoky voice said. "This is Vivienne Alcott. We need to talk. I know about your situation." Nathan frowned. "I'm sorry. Who are you?" "I'm someone who can fix it. Meet me at Maison Blanche Café. 7 sharp." Before he could ask another question, the call ended. Intrigued and unnerved, Nathan showed up. The cafe was upscale, out of place in a town like Fairview. Inside, chandeliers sparkled over velvet booths. In the far corner, she waited, Vivienne Alcott, a woman of presence. Her silver hair was immaculately styled, her skin soft but untouched by time, and her tailored dress radiated old money. "Nathan," she greeted, waving him over. He hesitated, then "Saturday, Ms. Alcott. I don't understand." "How do you know?" "I make it my business to know. Your father passed last year. Your mother's medical expenses are unpaid. Your school loans are mounting. I can help." His heart pounded. "Help how?" She sipped her espresso. "Marry me." Nathan laughed. "Excuse me. I'm offering you a contract marriage," she said, voice smooth as silk. "No romance. No strings. I'll pay your debts. Give you stability. In exchange, you become my husband. For appearance, for estate planning, for legacy. Nothing more." Nathan leaned back, stunned. "Why me? You're smart, young, and desperate enough to consider it. I don't need love, Nathan. I need control. I need someone who won't get in the way, and someone who won't outlive me by 40 years asking questions." "And what do I tell people?" "You tell them you fell for a mysterious, wealthy widow." The silence that followed felt like eternity. Nathan returned home that night and sat at the dinner table with his sister, Emma. Their fridge was empty. The heating barely worked, and Emma's college tuition was already overdue. The next morning, he said yes. The wedding was private. A courthouse affair. A new life delivered in a manila envelope full of clear debts and bank transfers. Nathan moved into her mansion on Lake Avondale. At first, it was paradise, silk sheets, tailored suits, a garage of cars he'd only seen in movies. Vivian was distant but courteous. She had rules: no access to the West Wing. No calls during her private hours. No questions about her past. He agreed. At first. But on the 7th day, curiosity betrayed him. He was walking past a locked corridor when he heard it. A soft, rhythmic humming. A melody he'd heard before. It drew him in. He picked the lock with a pocket knife, heart thudding in his chest. Inside, the room was cold. On the walls, portraits. Dozens of them. Each one a different man, handsome, young, formally dressed, standing beside Vivian in wedding attire. Nathan stepped closer. The plaques beneath each painting told the rest. Julian S. Alcott, 1983 to 1984. Michael Renner, 1985 to 1985. Elliot Graves, 1991 to 1992. Every husband had vanished within a year. Every face wore the same smile he had forced on his wedding day. A creak echoed behind him. Vivian stood in the doorway. "You weren't supposed to see this," she said calmly. What is this?" Nathan asked, his voice cracking. "A history," she whispered. "A habit. You've done this before?" She stepped inside. "Some were foolish. Some greedy. One tried to blackmail me. But most, like you, were simply desperate." Nathan backed away. "You killed them." "I offered them a way out of their misery," she said. "They accepted. But curiosity is dangerous, Nathan." He bolted out the room, down the stairs, out into the rain. Back at the mansion's gates, he found them locked. His phone had no signal. His bank accounts emptied. The identity of Nathan Cole, husband of Vivienne Alcott, had been claimed. That night, he found a handwritten note under his bedroom door. "You were given a gift. You chose to betray it. The clock starts now." He realized something terrifying. He hadn't married for money. He had sold himself into a contract with a predator. And she wasn't done with him yet. The note had been slipped under his bedroom door sometime after midnight. Nathan Cole stared at the words, his breath shallow. "You were given a gift. You chose to betray it. The clock starts now. He bolted upright, heart pounding. The room, ornate, gold-framed mirrors, Victorian curtains, felt like a cage. He checked the door. Unlocked. But the hallway beyond it was silent. Too silent. He wanted to believe this was a game. A warning. Maybe Vivian was testing his loyalty. But deep inside, he knew better. This wasn't a marriage. It was a trap. And the moment he picked the lock to that forbidden west wing, the illusion shattered. The next morning, Vivian was already seated at the breakfast table, calm, poised in an emerald robe that shimmered like serpent scales. Her smile was faint, but her eyes, those cold, knowing eyes, watched him closely. "Sleep well?" she asked, pouring tea without waiting for an answer. Nathan nodded stiffly. "Yes, thank you." She folded her hands. "I imagine you have questions. I shouldn't have gone into that room." "No, you shouldn't have," she said, her tone flat. "But curiosity is part of what makes young men so easy to mold." Nathan's fingers tightened around his mug. "Who were they?" "The others." "Husbands," she said plainly. "Each with their own story. Each with their own weaknesses. Just like you." "What happened to them?" "They ceased to be useful." Her answer was simple, chilling in its finality. Nathan stood up slowly. "You can't keep me here." Vivian laughed softly. "Of course not, Nathan. You're free to leave. You're always free to leave." But he knew the truth. She owned everything, his identity, his accounts, his records. The day he signed that contract marriage, he signed away his control. And if her past was any indication, walking away wasn't something her husbands had ever done. That afternoon, he tried to escape. He walked down the tree-lined driveway toward the gate, hoping it had been unlocked. It hadn't. He turned around and saw a man in a gray suit leaning against a black car parked by the hedges. "You must be Mr. Cole," the man said with a polite nod. "I'm Mr. Crane. Estate security." "Security?" Nathan asked. "For your safety, of course. Mrs. Alcott insists on it." Nathan's blood ran cold. He turned back, toward the mansion. He was trapped in plain sight. That night, the air inside the mansion felt heavier. Nathan didn't sleep. He stayed up searching, quietly, room by room. If there were secrets in this house, they were well hidden. But in the basement, behind a false wall in the wine cellar, he found something. A vault. Inside, rows of antique boxes, journals, tapes, and a ledger. Each page detailed a husband's name, date of marriage, financial transfers, medical reports, and, chillingly, the date they were resolved. It was cold, calculated. A blueprint for a rich widow's cycle of wealth extraction and erasure. Vivian had turned marriage into a business. Nathan copied what he could, stuffed files into his backpack. But as he turned to leave, a motion sensor light flickered on above him, and then the door slammed shut. He was locked in. His phone had no signal. No way out. For 6 hours, he sat in darkness, his breath fogging in the cold air, haunted by names in the ledger: Julian, Michael, Elliot. They were all him. Pieces of a puzzle, each one disposable. At sunrise, the door opened. Vivian stood at the top of the stairs. "You've seen too much," she said. "You were supposed to be the last." Nathan stood slowly. "Last for what?" She descended a single step. "My legacy. My name. My empire. Everything I built. I needed a final piece. Someone who wouldn't fight back." He backed away. "Why me?" Vivian's voice turned wistful. "Because you were perfect. Young. Broke. Naive. And most importantly, alone. No one will come looking for you." Nathan's hand slipped into his pocket, gripping the USB drive he'd hidden there with the copied files. She didn't know. Yet. That night, he waited until the staff changed shifts. He snuck out a back exit through the kitchen, heart racing. He had one mission now: expose her. He reached a gas station 20 miles away and begged the clerk to let him use a phone. A single name on a sticky note from a classmate came to mind: Darla Pierce, a junior journalist at a Detroit crime blog. The one who always wanted a real story. "This better be good," Darla said after he explained. Nathan replied, his voice shaking. "You want a real story? How about a contract marriage with a 71-year-old millionaire woman who faked love, erased her husbands, and made billions off their silence?" She went quiet. "I've got documents," Nathan added. "A ledger. Pictures. And a list of names. All gone. I don't know how long I've got." "I'm listening," she whispered. But as he hung up, he saw a sleek black car roll into the station parking lot. Mr. Crane stepped out. Vivian wasn't finished, and Nathan had just declared war. The fluorescent lights of the gas station flickered as Nathan Cole stepped back from the payphone, the cold plastic still warm from his call. A single bead of sweat slid down his neck, despite the bitter Michigan air. His heart slammed like a drum in his chest as he stared at the sleek black car pulling into the lot. Mr. Crane, Vivian's security. He ducked behind the propane tank cages, staying low. Crane stepped out, scanned the lot calmly, and walked inside, flashing a photo to the clerk. Nathan didn't wait. He bolted into the woods behind the station, the trees swallowing him whole. Branches lashed at his face, what leaves slick under his shoes. His lungs burned. His mind raced. Vivian was hunting him now, and she had money, men, and a clean public image. All he had was a USB drive and the truth. By morning, Nathan had reached a rundown motel off Highway 72. He paid in cash, locked the door, and opened his laptop. The copied files from Vivian's vault stared back at him. Scanned death certificates with questionable details, financial transfers to offshore accounts, falsified legal marriage documents, and the ledger that tracked her husband's like seasonal investments. He knew what he had. A real story. And a real target on his back. He emailed everything to Darla Pierce, the junior crime reporter he'd called. Attached were the files and a message. If I disappear, this goes live. Within the hour, her response came. I believe you. I'm coming to you. Stay put. But Nathan couldn't stay put. When he cracked open the blinds, he saw it, a black SUV idling across the street. Tinted windows. Same vehicle from the mansion. Vivian had found him. Again. He gathered his things and slipped out the bathroom window. This was no longer about debt, desperation, or even escape. This was survival. By nightfall, Nathan made it to Detroit, hiding in the back of a delivery truck headed toward the city. He met Darla in a grimy diner just off 8 Mile. She was younger than he remembered, early 20s, sharp-eyed, skeptical, but as he dropped the evidence between them, her skepticism shifted to horror. This is a serial operation, she whispered. Contract marriage, life insurance fraud, erasing identities. This woman's been hiding behind the veil of wealth and status for decades. Nathan leaned forward. I don't think I'm the only one who tried to leave. Darla's fingers flew across her keyboard. This story is going live. Front page. I'll pitch it to the Chronicle if I have to. If what you've got checks out, Vivienne Alcott won't be able to buy silence anymore. Nathan exhaled. Relief. A glimmer of hope. But it didn't last long. As they left the diner, Darla's car alarm shrieked from across the lot. Someone had broken in. Her laptop was gone. The USB drive with the originals, gone. Nathan cursed under his breath. She's one step ahead of us. This wasn't random, Darla said. She's watching us. They drove in silence, paranoia thick in the air. Nathan kept glancing in the side mirror. Every pair of headlights looked like Crane's SUV. Vivian wasn't just rich. She was calculating, always anticipating moves. This was more than damage control. This was containment. By the time they reached a safe house owned by one of Darla's sources, the atmosphere had shifted. The line between hunted and hunter blurred. Nathan stared at himself in the mirror, the bruises under his eyes deepening. He hadn't slept in 48 hours. This had all started with a simple choice, a contract marriage with a mysterious millionaire woman. A way out of poverty. Out of student debt. A shortcut to freedom. Now, it had become a nightmare. A psychological thriller unfolding in real time. And the worst part? He wasn't sure how much longer he could run. The next morning, Darla received an anonymous email. Subject: You should have left it alone. Attachment: a photo of her mother, walking alone, from 2 days ago. Darla went pale. She's threatening my family. Nathan stepped beside her. She's sending a message. She's not hiding anymore. She's declaring war. They needed a new plan. Going public wasn't enough. They needed proof Vivian couldn't erase. A survivor. A witness. Nathan remembered something from the ledger, one name with no closed date. The only husband without a death certificate. Daniel Harrow. Married in 1997. No death. No financial note. Just missing. If Daniel was alive, he might be the only other person who had ever escaped Vivian's grip. And if they could find him, they could bring her down. Nathan stared out the window, the city glowing in the early light. He had walked into this marriage to solve his financial problems. Now he was fighting for his life, and others who never got the chance. The question was no longer if Vivian would come for him again. It was when. The name Daniel Harrow was a whisper from the past, buried deep in the ledger Nathan had stolen from Vivienne Alcott's mansion. One entry stood out. Unlike the other husbands, Daniel had no listed death, no financial closure. Just a date, August 13th, 1997. Then, nothing. He had vanished. If we find him, Nathan said, we can prove I'm not the first. That Vivian's done this before. Darla, now fully invested, scoured public records and old newspaper clippings for hours. Finally, she hit something. A decades-old police report. Minor. Buried. But it mentioned Daniel Harrow, last seen leaving a hospital in Masonville, Ohio, 6 months after his marriage to a woman named Evelyn Alcott. Vivian had used another name. A pattern was forming: different names, different cities, the same outcome. Darla leaned back from the screen, her voice low. She's been running this scheme for decades under aliases. Evelyn, Sylvia, Marion, and now Vivian, Nathan murmured. One woman, many faces. The next morning, they hit the road in Darla's car, tired but determined. The deeper they drove into rural Ohio, the heavier the air felt. Masonville was the kind of town where people still left their doors unlocked and news traveled fast. Nathan and Darla checked into a roadside and under fake names. They started asking questions, posing as documentary filmmakers researching local mysteries. It didn't take long. An old mechanic at a gas station leaned against his counter and said, "You're not the first to ask about Daniel Harrow." Nathan froze. Someone else came looking? Years ago. Some rich woman. Didn't say much. Just waved money around. That had to be her Vivian. She had tried to erase even the loose ends. "But I remember Daniel," the old man said. "Strange guy. Showed up here all beat to hell, paranoid. Said his wife was trying to kill him. Then, poof, he disappeared. Where was he staying? Used to live out by the quarry, near the edge of town. Some beat-up cabin. The cabin was still there. Abandoned, walls sagging under the weight of years. Inside, the dust was thick, but Nathan found something tucked beneath the floorboards of a rotting dresser, a journal. He opened the brittle pages. The handwriting was erratic, frantic. "Evelyn isn't who she says she is. She watches me sleep. I think she poisoned my tea. I tried to leave, she sent men after me. I'm not safe here. No one is." The final entry chilled them both. "If you're reading this, she didn't get me. I made it out. I'm heading to the Catskills." Name changed. No paper trail. Daniel had escaped. But only just. Back at the motel, Darla cross-referenced missing persons reports, DMV records, anything linked to men in the Catskills area who resembled Daniel Harrow. Hours passed. The snow outside began to fall. Then a breakthrough. A man named Henry Travers, matching Daniel's age, had been living in a secluded cabin in the Catskills for nearly 20 years. No job, no phone, no known family. It had to be him. They set out again, this time driving east, crossing state lines, racing against the clock. If they had found Daniel's trail, Vivian might too. Nathan couldn't shake the feeling they were being followed. Every car behind them felt too familiar. Every shadow in the rearview mirror lingered too long. As they climbed the winding roads of the Catskills, a storm began to brew. Thunder cracked across the mountains. Visibility dropped. But finally, they reached it, a small A-frame cabin nestled in the woods, its chimney coughing out a thin line of smoke. Nathan approached the door and knocked. It creaked open, just an inch. A man's voice called out from the darkness. "Go away. I told you people, I'm not coming back." Nathan spoke fast. "Daniel. My name's Nathan Cole. She married me too." Silence. Then the door opened wider. Daniel Harrow stood there, his beard thick, eyes sunken, but alive. Haunted, but breathing. He stared at Nathan. "She's still doing it?" Nathan nodded. "And I need your help to stop her." Daniel exhaled, leaning heavily on the doorframe. "You don't know what she is." Inside, Daniel told his story. He'd married her under the name Evelyn. She had promised him love, wealth, family. But weeks in, everything changed. The same control, the isolation, the silent threats. She had slowly cut him off from the world. When he tried to leave, she'd sent Crane's same man, same dead eyes, to make sure he didn't. He faked a suicide, left everything behind, changed his identity, and never looked back. "You don't fight Vivian," Daniel said. "You disappear, or you die." Nathan shook his head. "Not this time. I've got proof. Darla's publishing everything. But we need your voice. Your story." Daniel stared into the fire. "If I speak, she'll come. She already is, Darla said. And she's not just silencing you. She's erasing lives, one husband at a time. Daniel closed his eyes. And then, for the first time in years, he nodded. I'll talk. But outside, in the dark woods, a red dot blinked quietly beneath a tree. A hidden tracker buried under Darla's car. Vivian knew exactly where they were. And she was coming. Snow fell in silent sheets over the Catskills cabin, muffling the world outside. Inside, the fire crackled, but the air was tense. Nathan, Darla, and Daniel sat in a triangle of urgency, their plan laid bare on the coffee table. Documents, Daniel's testimony, Darla's laptop open with a draft article titled, Black Widow Billionaire, The Truth About Vivienne Alcott. Daniel lit a cigarette with shaking hands. You don't understand, he muttered. She doesn't just clean up her messes. She burns the entire building down. Nathan glanced out the frosted window, his instincts screaming. Then we need to move. Fast. But they were too late. A soft click echoed outside. Then another. Darla's head jerked up. Did you hear that? Nathan rushed to the window and froze. Headlights. 2 of them. Black SUVs. No plates. She's here. Daniel's cigarette dropped to the floor. Nathan grabbed Darla's laptop and stuffed it into his backpack. We go out the back, through the woods. She won't risk a gunfight. Not yet. But before they could move, the power cut out. Everything went black. Then, a voice came from outside, amplified through a speaker. Calm. Rich. Chilling. Nathan. Daniel. I've come to take back what belongs to me. Vivian. Her tone was composed, almost gentle, like a mother calling her children in for supper. But it curdled Nathan's blood. Darla opened the cellar door. We go now. They dropped down into darkness, crawling under the cabin and emerging into the snow-drenched forest. Flashlights flickered behind them, boots crunching. Crane and 2 other men swept through the trees like wolves. For the next hour, it was a brutal chase. Darla fell once, slicing her palm on a branch. Nathan pulled her up. Daniel struggled to keep up, his lungs ragged. But they reached the old ranger station, abandoned but sturdy. Nathan slammed the door shut and barricaded it with a desk. For now, they had shelter. Inside, Daniel finally told the whole truth. She didn't marry me for companionship. She married me because I was easy to disappear. No family. No paper trail. I was a test run for what she'd become. Nathan's jaw tightened. You think she'll stop? No, Daniel said, his eyes hollow. She's evolved. She doesn't just marry poor men. She manufactures stories. Pity. Control. She knows how to stay one step ahead. Darla checked her laptop. No signal. She cut the tower, she said. We're in blackout. Then, the cabin's front door creaked. Someone was outside. A voice again, only this time, spoken. Vivian. No speaker. No mask. She had come in person. I gave you a choice, Nathan, she called. Comfort. Wealth. Protection. All you had to do was stay. Nathan shouted back. You lied. You killed people. Vivian sighed. No. I corrected mistakes. Like Daniel. Like you. She stepped into the doorway, flanked by Crane and another enforcer. Her face was cold perfection, like porcelain sculpted from ice. Vivian looked directly at Daniel. You should have stayed dead, she said flatly. Daniel stepped forward. I'm not afraid of you anymore. Vivian smiled. You should be. Crane raised his gun, but Darla threw a rock, hitting the light. Darkness swallowed the room. Nathan lunged, tackling Crane. Gunfire erupted, splintering wood. Daniel pulled Vivian down, holding a blade to her throat. This ends now, he shouted. But Vivian didn't flinch. Instead, she whispered, Kill me, and everything you've fought for dies with me. My estate vanishes. Your proof disappears. I am the only one who can validate your claims. Silence. Nathan grabbed the gun and pointed it at her. You're bluffing. Am I? She said, still calm. Go ahead. Expose me. But the world will call you liars. Con men. Failed husbands looking to extort an old widow. Darla's voice cracked. We have your files. The ledger. The audio. Vivian's smile returned. Who do you think owns the server it's hosted on? The realization sank in like poison. She had thought of everything. Nathan's hands shook. Rage boiled under his skin. But then Daniel said something unexpected. Then we don't expose you. Vivian blinked. What? Daniel turned to Nathan. We trap you. Vivian tilted her head, intrigued. You think you can outmaneuver me? Nathan lowered the gun. No. But we can make you needed. We go public. with enough bait to spark suspicion, but not enough to convict. Then we offer you a deal. Confess to everything in exchange for control over the narrative. Darla caught on. It's not about proof anymore. It's about pressure. We forced the court of public opinion to turn. Vivian's smile faded for the first time. Checkmate was close, and she knew it. By dawn, she was gone. But Nathan knew she wouldn't stay gone for long. This was no longer just survival, it was war. Now it was about beating Vivienne Alcott at her own game. And the next move would be theirs. A week after the standoff in the Catskills, Nathan sat in a borrowed apartment in upstate New York, staring into a camera. No lights, no crew, just him and Darla behind the lens. His voice cracked as he began. My name is Nathan Carter. I married a woman named Vivienne Alcott, a billionaire widow. 7 days later, I discovered she had buried more than 5 husbands. She almost buried me. That was the first video. 3 minutes. Raw. Honest. Dangerous. Darla uploaded it under a burner account with a clickbait title. I married a billionaire widow. Now I'm running for my life. True story. Within 24 hours, it hit 300,000 views. Within 72, it exploded past 2 million. Comment sections buzzed with disbelief, shock, and hashtags like hashtag Black Widow Billionaire, hashtag Justice for Nathan, and hashtag Vivian Exposed. Mainstream blogs and true crime influencers latched on, intrigued by the twist, a poor husband fighting back. Darla followed it up with Daniel's blurred-face testimony. She watched me sleep. She tried to poison me. I faked my death to survive. Reddit threads dissected every word. TikTok sleuths dug into Vivian's multiple aliases. Someone unearthed her name on a decades-old deed in Masonville. Another posted a screenshot of her in a background shot at a funeral from 1998, under a different name. She was being digitally cornered. But Vivian didn't respond publicly. She didn't need to, because her counterstrike came the way only someone with real money could manage. 3 days later, Nathan's bank account froze. His mother's hospital bill was suddenly rejected. His sister's college aid revoked. A cease and desist letter arrived in the mail from Alcott Holdings LLC. Darla slammed her laptop shut. She's not just rich. She owns the institutions, the platforms, the silence. Nathan paced. But the people believe us. That's something money can't buy. Just then, Daniel received a call from a reporter at the Herald Tribune. They wanted an interview. On record. Full profile. Major story. Daniel hesitated. If I do this, she'll hunt me again. Nathan looked him in the eye. Then we make you too public to kill. The article dropped 3 days later. The Widow's Web, one man's escape from a billionaire's deadly marriage game. Vivian's name trended worldwide. More men came forward, one from Argentina, one from Italy, both claiming to have known her under different aliases. Every piece of the puzzle exposed her reach. Shell companies, offshore accounts, even a secret estate in the south of France under the name Estelle Crane. The media wanted her statement. She gave none. Instead, a counter-narrative began to appear. Anonymous accounts flooded Twitter, calling Nathan a liar, a scammer, a gold digger who couldn't handle wealth. Someone even leaked old footage of Nathan partying in college. The tabloids titled it, "The Truth About the Man Smearing a Widow's Legacy." Darla rubbed her temples. Classic strategy. Destroy the messenger. Nathan didn't flinch. Then we burned the lies with the truth. That night, they dropped the final piece, a voice recording from a hidden mic Daniel had worn years ago, capturing Vivian saying the words. No one will believe you, Daniel. Men like you disappear every day. I just signed the check. The audio went viral. This time, the media couldn't spin it. It was her voice. Cold. Calculated. Real. Major networks picked it up. Hashtags trended globally. Prosecutors reopened 2 old missing persons cases tied to her previous aliases. The illusion of her invincibility cracked. But as the public began to rally, Nathan knew this wasn't the end. It was a shift. Vivian had been forced into the light. But shadows like hers don't disappear. They retract. And wait. The courtroom buzzed with anticipation. Nathan Carter sat at the defense table, the weight of months of turmoil pressing on his shoulders. Cameras flashed. Reporters whispered. The entire nation was watching as the trial against Vivienne Alcott, the so-called Black Widow billionaire, finally began. Months of viral videos, leaked recordings, and relentless media pressure had forced the powerful widow out of hiding. But the stakes had never been higher. Vivian entered the courtroom with icy grace, her silver hair pulled back into a sleek bun, her eyes sharp as daggers. She was poised, unshaken, an empress on trial, facing accusations that could destroy her empire. Nathan's heart pounded. This was the moment he had feared and hoped for, to expose Vivian's deadly secrets and win justice for the countless lives she had shattered. The prosecutor opened with a damning statement. Vivienne Alcott manipulated, controlled, and destroyed the men she married. Tonight, we bring to light a web of deceit, abuse, and death. Nathan's voice shook as he took the stand. He recounted the story that had captivated millions, the whirlwind marriage, the shocking betrayal, and the near-fatal escape. He told of Darla and Daniel's testimonies, the hidden recordings, and the network of lies that Vivian had spun. But Vivian's defense was relentless. Her lawyers painted Nathan as a desperate opportunist, driven by greed and jealousy. They attacked every piece of evidence, every witness, trying to dismantle the truth. Outside the courtroom, Vivian's influence still loomed large. Key witnesses disappeared. Vital documents mysteriously vanished. The trial became a battlefield between justice and power. One night, as Nathan prepared for the final day, a chilling message appeared on his phone. Walk away, or lose everything. He knew Vivian's reach was far from over. The fight had become personal, beyond law, beyond media. It was a fight for his life. On the final day, the courtroom was silent as Nathan delivered his closing statement. Vivienne Alcott is more than a widow. She's a predator hiding behind wealth and charm. I stand here not just for myself, but for every victim silenced by her cruelty. This isn't just a trial, it's a reckoning. The jury deliberated for hours. Outside, supporters gathered, holding signs demanding justice. Finally, the verdict came. Guilty on multiple counts. Vivian's empire began to crumble. She was sentenced to decades in prison. Her assets were frozen and investigations into her network expanded globally. Nathan stepped outside the courthouse, overwhelmed by the weight of victory and loss. The fight had been brutal, but justice had prevailed. This gripping story saga of a poor student married to a 71-year-old millionaire widow reveals the dark, twisted secrets lurking behind wealth and power. Nathan Carter's harrowing escape and relentless pursuit of justice highlight the dangers of toxic marriages and wealthy widow revenge. The viral exposure of Vivienne Alcott's crimes captivated millions, showcasing the power of social media activism and public opinion in uncovering deadly secrets of the rich. This story serves as a stark reminder that appearances can be deceiving, and even the most glamorous lives may hide sinister truths. If you're fascinated by real-life mysteries involving contract marriages gone wrong, surviving toxic relationships, and exposing millionaire predators, Nathan's journey offers a powerful testament to courage and resilience. Stay informed, stay vigilant, and remember, behind every fortune, there may be a story waiting to be told.